Pod.
Rugby pod. Hello and welcome back to the Rugby pod. It's me, Big Jim, freshly back from Bahrain with my partner in crime. We're fresh. Andrew Goode and producer Rob is here as always. I say that with a huff. I didn't mean to huff. I am happy that you're here, Rob. I am. What a weekend of ruggers it's been. Derby day in the Prem. Saints, Tigers, Quins, Sarries, Bath, Gloucester. Proper rivalries, proper niggle, and we may have found a new cult hero as well. Who's that, Rob?
Well, we'll find out later. Don't give it all the information out first.
Yeah, true.
Tease them.
Yeah, we have, James. We've also had all our big international stars back. The British and Irish Lions boys, most of them are back playing, which was great. Marcus Smith is back. How good was he? Finn Smith, even better, I thought, than Marcus Smith. Great to see him back as well. We've seen
Finn Russell, unbelievable. Anyway, it's not about the Scots.
Yeah.
Keep going.
We've seen young guns firing, big results in the URC as well. And we're here for it all, James, off the back of a mega week in Bahrain.
Yes, sir. So you know the drill by now. Settle back, enjoy, and make sure you're subscribed on Spotify.
This episode is presented by Ford and the new Ford Ranger plug-in hybrid, which actually delivers more power and torque than the Ranger 3-litre V6 diesel.
When you need to pull, climb or haul, that extra muscle is going to make a difference. It's like stepping onto the pitch with more grunt, more force and more control than anyone else.
The new Ford Ranger plug-in hybrid. More power, just in case. Order before the end of December and get a free home charger included. Search Ford Ranger plug-in hybrid or visit ford.co.uk for more information.
Right, lads, what's happened in Bahrain? Because I've asked you about it and you both seem very coy.
I've got nothing to report. It was just business. We were out there with Bahrain Rugby Club and some absolute legends for 3 or 4 days, just taking in the scenery, looking at the sights, the local delicacies.
Rugby in the desert.
Yeah, rugby in the desert. Let's just talk about the rugby, shall we? But we had a great week, didn't we, Jim? Or I say week, 3 or 4 days out in Bahrain. At Bahrain Rugby Club. What an absolute privilege it was to be out there, and also seeing how good a sports club, and I say sports club because there's not just the rugby club, there's netball, there's football, there's Gaelic football, there's all sorts going on. What an absolute belting few days. And I'm going to say it here, Rob, Jim Hamilton had a proper go. I was very proud of Jim Hamilton. He had a proper go.
What do you mean had a proper go?
Well, on the first night anyway, on the first night.
Well, yeah, I had to settle in, didn't I? So, and that was it. I had one bullet and I shot it and it hit the bullseye, Rob, on night one. So, and that was it. But, you know, as we know, Rob, our partner in crime, Andrew Goode, he had 3 or 4 bullets and he shot 10 of them in 3 days. He shot 10 in 3 is all I know. And he commentated on Saturday when we got back and I'm there lying in my pit thinking, how? I'm like, how's he doing that? But no, it was great. It was great to be in Bahrain. I always say it when we get to go to these amazing places that rugby is worldwide, wide. It's global, and not that I needed it, not that we need to repeat it, but rugby's just a cool sport. And there's a heartbeat over there in the middle of the desert where people are grafting away, as expats do, with a heartbeat of rugby. And that's exactly what it was there. So really cool time. A few thank yous and stuff, haven't we, Andrew, before we get moving on today's show?
Yeah, we do. Big shout out and thanks to everyone, all the staff at Bahrain Rugby Club. So basically, we went out hard on Wednesday night, and Thursday morning, we are at the rugby club after 2 hours sleep to watch all the kids there's kids from Doha, there's kids from Saudi, there's kids from all over the place, Bahrain Rugby Club kids playing in the Battle of Bahrain competition, and we're having to hand out prizes to all these kids, and I dread to think what my eyes look like, so I kept my sunglasses on. So big shout out to all the kids that played as well, Jim, that was fun.
Yeah, of course, yeah. We also got a shout out to Big Rory Drummond Rooster for bringing us out there, fellow Scott. And also the doc, John Doherty, who's the chairman, who dusted off his boots. We'll get into that as well. And Paul Tablanche, the general manager, for accommodating us and looking after us while we were there.
Yeah, the best bit about the whole trip was there was a Golden Oldies game. Loads of old boys playing in memory of Mike Burton. So it was the Mike Burton Memorial game, who was a club legend. And they all played on the Friday night, and Jim and I got the pleasure of commentating over the loudspeakers across the whole stadium, across the bar. It was being played everywhere, and we are just going to town on some of these blokes that are literally 35 stone, running around in 30 degrees. I say running around, waddling around in 30 degrees. It was absolutely hilarious. None of them could see
It's
their
how
toes.
commentary should be done.
Yeah.
No, that's how commentary should be done, is basically calling it as it is. No weird posh voices, no manipulated scripts. It was as raw as rugby commentary goes. So absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
It's my only shot of commentary that these days. So I went out on my sword.
That was great fun. So big shout out to everyone at Bahrain Rugby Club. We've had a great week. We met the guys from Doha as well, Doha Rugby Club. We could be out there again, Jim. Who knows? Get us out there. We are keen.
Right, from Middle East Rugby to East Midlands
There you
Rugby.
go. That's a good segue.
So I've done that. Great segue it was as well. But yeah, there was, it was Derby weekend. I was going to say there was a few derbies, but in the Prem it was all derbies. And no better place to start than Leicester versus Northampton. But didn't really feel like a derby, to be honest, compared to the other ones that we saw. Bit of a slow start, Andrew.
Well, everyone's too nice to each other. Those days of like proper punches being thrown and loads of niggle. There wasn't enough niggle to start off with, but I was watching Freddie Stewart. He loves a bit of niggle against Northampton. He was bang up for it.
He was good, mate.
Yeah, he was.
I'm a Freddie Stewart fan, but he were good.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off because I wanted to get that in early.
Yeah, no, and actually, when you look back at it and watching the game, and we've been there, you know how much it means to Leicester players, and especially ones that have come up through the club as well. So you look at him, you look at Jack Van Portfleet, you look at Ollie Chesham, you look at Harry Wells. Those were the four for me. Tommy Raffel as well, just like niggly and gnarly. But you've got to credit Saints. Yes, they got the luck of the bounce twice for 2 tries and 2 ridiculous bounces. But having Mitchell back, having Finn Smith back, and just the quality, the actual shapes they're playing in attack, led by Finn Smith, who I thought was mesmeric at times, with his game management, with his kicking, with his distribution and set up shapes and like 2, 3, 4 options. It was outstanding from Saints, and it was a decent ding dong. You know, Leicester were right in the fight, and as Jeff Parlin said, you know, to win at a top team like Northampton or on the road, sometimes you need a little bit more, and Saints just had that little bit more. And that little bit more was a Frenchman and the bounce of a ball from 2 kicks. Obviously, Mitchell makes the break in the first half, puts a kick in. I think it's Adam Radwan chasing back, gets a horrific bounce, which leads to Mitchell getting the ball back and feeding Finn Smith early on. And then effectively the winner, Anthony Bello, who just finished a wicked try himself in the far corner, then gets a kick from Ollie Hassel-Collins. Fine touch, that's all I'm saying. Just fine touch. When you're in your own dead ball area and you're under the pump, just fine touch. But anyway, Anthony Bello takes it, playing fullback because of injuries to Tommy Freeman and George Hendy, puts a real speculative kick in and just gets... Sometimes you make your own luck, and fair play. The ball bounced perfectly for him and the little Frenchman jogs over. So, Saints deserve the win. Hell of a ding-dong. But... you know, it was great to see Franklin's Gardens packed, or Cinch Stadium, as it's known. And, they got the bonus point, and fair play to them.
How good is it to see a Frenchman, Anthony Bello, specifically, come over and do his thing? Because when you saw the chip and chase and the bounce, that's what they do, right? That's French rugby, off the cuff, nothing's on. Super talented player. Everything you're hearing is that he signed on a lesser deal than he probably got offered at other places, and you can see that with the way that he's playing, because he doesn't seem like he's under a huge amount of pressure. He's come in, and we know they're very different cultures, right? And that is probably why you don't see many Frenchmen come over to the Prem. I'm trying to think. They're not rolling off the tongue. Sebastian Chabal, give me some more.
Picamoles.
Louis Picamole, yeah.
Louis Picamole, same club, yeah, same club, playing in the back row, but in decision-making positions, right? Where you need to be calling the shots and calling things in and hello in
No.
from the outside in, and running the show as well. And that is a great signing.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of teams are either on budget, salary cap, or below, and they're looking to get the right players in their squad. And you look at the amount of injuries, right, in the Prem, and how much pressure some of the teams are under. And Northampton have been the same with the injuries and the changes of personnel that they've had over the last few seasons. To bring in Anthony Bello, whoever's done that business, is a great signing, because I wouldn't have been like, oh, wow, Well, I weren't. Northampton have signed Anthony Bellew. Wow. He's going to be amazing. And like a thief in the night, he's come to Northampton, all you can eat buffet Chinese, and he is loving it.
Yeah, it is. It's a great sign. And do you know what? It's actually really hard because no doubt Finn Smith's their marquee sort of first choice 10, and Finn's obviously just signed a new contract. It is very hard to get very good second choice fly halves to come and understand that you ain't competing for the jersey necessarily. And they learned from last year, didn't they? Losing Finn Smith as much as they lost him for Premiership games through England selection. Mitchell was injured as well. And that sort of stunted their Premiership run. But obviously the timing of the Champions Cup games worked really well for them. But you need squad depth, right? You only need to look at Bath now. And historically, the teams that have done successfully, so you go back to your days at Sarries Gym, Bath at the minute with their squad depth, Exeter when they did the double, winning the Premiership and the Champions Cup, they had very good squad depth, right? And that's all really cyclical around how you manage the contracts, who's coming off contracts, who you can bring in under someone who's a quality player who can add to it. Because undoubtedly, some of the teams in the Prem, if they get their first 15 and their best 15 on the field, bar Newcastle, a lot of them could beat each other, right? In terms of their out-and-out star quality. Even Gloucester, who have struggled to start the season, on paper, they're a very good team with their starting team. But the difference is, I think, in a lot of the top squads, and Bath are head and shoulders above everyone else in terms of their squad depth. And look at their tight head situation with DeToy and Will Stewart, and you go down the depth chart, and they are very strong in a lot of positions. And that's great management, it's great planning, and ultimately it's investment, isn't it? So Saints have done a hell of a job getting Bellew in. He was an underrated player, I think, in France. Jumped around a couple of clubs, but then obviously they've seen enough in him to say that he could be perfect for us, and he's done it out of position as well. He's done it at fullback when he's an out-and-out 10, and that the second finish, yes, he creates it. The chip happens, the ball bounces in his favour, and everyone stood still because of the ridiculous bounce. But the finish for his first try with about 3 Leicester Tigers boys trying to bury him into touch was outstanding. So hell of a signing. Well done to whoever it was. I'm just going to say it was James Wotton in commercial at Northampton Saints because he's a legend as well. So let's give
because you're doing business with him. He's got nothing to do with it, but he passes corporate business my way, so I'm going to give him a shout out. But we should say for Bellew, just to reiterate for the people who didn't see the game, he came on for Tommy Freeman. Yeah. So I know he is a 10, and you referenced it there, Goody, but he came on for Tommy Freeman, whose injury looked bad, but from what we're hearing, it's just hip bruising, so nothing too serious. But if you're an England fan, seeing him go off like we've seen a load of players go off in the last few weeks, I don't know what's going on. Someone in the Prem water at the minute with injuries, but yeah. But to have a player like that to come on and be able to, like you say, play at 15 and to be able to probably cover 12 and 13. Big shout out to Fraser Dingwall as well, and Rory Hutchinson, mate. Northampton look good. Yeah,
mate, they are. They're a great attacking team. Sam Vesti, as we know, does a hell of a job in terms of preparing them, but the skill level, the ability of those boys. Dingwall was excellent, and there's loads of chat about moving Freeman into the centres for England with Ollie Lawrence. Say now, Dingwall's a top quality player, as is Max Ajomo at Bath. So there's loads of decent options there. But yeah, mate, Dingers was outstanding, and you can see there's a bit of niggle in his eyes as well around the whole Leicester-Northampton rivalry. He was going after Freddie Stewart. Freddie Stewart's got both of them. Do you see it? He had Dingwall and Hutchinson and then they just point over.
It's the Jono look, mate.
Yeah, well, it's amazing because he's giving it big licks and he's sort of grappling two of them and they just point in the corner because Bellow's just scored. So kind of he who laughs last laughs longest, right? But decent ding-dong and Saints deserve the win.
Is Freddie Stewart sort of embracing this villain role a little bit? Because I don't remember him being as niggly as this in previous seasons.
Oh, mate, he's always niggly against Northampton.
Yeah, he's always had a bit of that. I've felt with Freddie. Maybe specifically on Northampton. You could be right, Goody. But he's had a bit of the see you next Tuesday in him.
Yeah. I like it.
And I think more so now, what's happened over the last couple of years and what happened before that with him being in the England team and didn't miss a beat and then being dropped out, missing out on the Lions. You know I'm a Freddie Stewart fan.
Yeah.
And the way that he conducts himself, how brave he is in the air, the physicality. He's added the running game, which was always what people thought were lacking And with Northampton specifically, maybe it is the Tommy Freeman, George Furbank who got picked ahead of him, and that's what it is. Or maybe it just is. It's because it's a local derby and he understands the true essence of what it means to play against Northampton.
Mate, they deserved it. I'll tell you what I need to talk about as well, just before we move on to another game, is the big elephant in the second row, Van der Mesch. Oh, my South African. He's
literally an elephant.
He's like an elephant, isn't he? Like, he's lumbering up, and he's not fast, but my God, he can run quick enough, and he's just ginormous, isn't he?
Yeah, they need to get him fit. If they can get him fit, and it's the obvious thing to say, right? You've got a player like a Will Skelton.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't really jump in the line out. He's not strapped up to jump. And they tried to use him a couple of times, but yeah.
145 kegs, it says on his Wikipedia. He's a big bloke.
He's 160.
Yeah, also says Goode. It says Goode he's 75 kg, so I wouldn't go based on Wikipedia.
Yeah, 160, I'm saying he is.
Jim, what's happening with Sarries against Quins? That's 3 consecutive victories for the Quins against your lads.
Mate, but we're 2 from 3 this season.
There's only one club in London now, apparently, James, according to Harlequins.
Wow.
Have they won the
fair
league?
Play. There was some
Have they won the league or
top
what?
level trolling. Well, it feels like it is because they get themselves up for one game, so they play it like a final, which they do. Yeah, look, the real niggle in that game, real physicality, massive intent from Harlequins. A brilliant game plan, which I didn't see come in, neither did the coaches, if you listen to Mark McCall as well, and a shitload of kicking that wasn't shit by Quins. It was actually a great tactic to have. I'd be interested to know what you think, Goody, and why this happened, and maybe my positional stuff doesn't, and my understanding on the positional stuff doesn't maybe warrant me to talk about it, but Faz was in the backfield a lot,
yeah,
and they were screaming, kick the ball on Faz a lot, and he dropped the ball. He fumbled the ball once, but looked under a huge amount of pressure, as did Fergus Burke, as did Max Malins. Like they didn't handle the high ball. So 2 questions. Have they identified Faz as a weak link under the high ball? Have we seen a weak link there? And also, does Marcus Smith kick that spiral bomb, which is difficult to catch because Sarries couldn't catch it?
Well, a few bits on that. So ultimately, when you're putting contestables up, it becomes a scrap, right? And it becomes a bit of a 50-50 if the kick's on the money. And the kicks were on the money, and Quins dominated that area. So Max Malins was under pressure because the kicks were so good. Faz was under pressure. And Faz will be in the backfield a bit, trying to manage a game, but also when you get into that kick tennis, you want your better kickers back there. And ultimately, Quins executed the kicking game plan way better, and coupled with that, how bad Sarries were under the high ball. And sometimes it just happens, right? The sunshine, it was kind of weird. I was watching it over at a mate's house who's a massive Sarries fan, my mate Leon, who is big mates with Joe Shaw. And it's like watching it with Jim back in the day, where he's getting angry because he hates Harlequins and there's that rivalry and all that stuff. And they just dominated the bits and pieces, the scraps. You only have to look at Tyrone Green's try, where Fergus Burke has had an absolute stinker under no pressure really at all. And things just, momentum builds, the bounce of the ball, the work rate, the effort of Quins to put themselves in those positions to pick up the scraps. And everything went for Quins in that way, didn't they? Sarries were way below par, but they were still in the fight. Quins could have and should have won that game by 20 points, watching how the game unfolded. But
well, that's what Mark said. Them getting 1 point out of the game probably didn't even deserve it. And just, we're talking about the kick in there, Goody. The physicality from Quins was off the charts.
Yeah. Well, that one game a year they do it for is outstanding, isn't it?
But that's true. That would be the frustration if you're a Harlequins fan, or if you're a coach, right? We haven't seen that all this season. Great game plan. I know Marcus Smith made a big difference to them, but it was Marcus Smith. But for me, like we spoke about the kicking game, right? And for the kind of the common eye or the casual fan, that's what they would have said it would have been the kicking game was better than Sarries. But the physicality, Chandler Cunningham South barring up against Tom Willis it was a great contest, but Jack Cunningham as well was absolutely incredible. I'm a big fan of him as well.
He's a wicked player. I like
him. Mate, he's really, really good, mate. If he can stay fit, I know England back row or whatever, but I think he's international quality. And it was the physicality and their desire. And
And they host
That's
Sarries.
what won them the game.
They host Sarries in the set piece as well, didn't they? Especially the scrum. Like Finn Baxter was outstanding.
Yeah, but the thing is with the scrums though, some of the calls weren't right.
Were they not?
No, unfortunately not. No. Although 50-50s that went the other way that shouldn't have done anyway.
Yeah.
I had Bracey on the podcast, so I don't want to go on at the refs.
But there you go. But that's the thing, isn't it? So when you don't control the aerial battle and you're giving up turnovers, knock-ons, Quins are getting the scraps, then momentum's with you. The scrum penalties were going their way, rightly or wrongly. And that whole momentum shift, how that all adds up to a Quins performance where they have got some ticker and they have got some physicality. And Chandler Cunningham South was trying to bang anyone he could bang, whether it was his own team clearing boys out, whether it was Sarries boys carrying. Tom Willis being the prime example. Never a legal shot, by the way. His arm was by his side. But then, do you see Faz run in from about 20 metres? Hey, fucking Chandler, what you saying, mate? What you saying? And then Chandler just ruffles the top of his head. I loved it. I loved the niggle.
Well, the thing is with Chandler, right? It's a shame to see him not kick on from when we had him in the studio. What was it, Rob? 18 months, 2 years ago, maybe as long as that.
Ago, yeah.
And he blew up on the scene. We saw him score that try against Australia where he gave the chills and he was physical as anything. And then it was, for me, watching him, it's like that repeated effort, right? Like Ardie Surveyor. So if you think Ardie Surveyor is the best, he mentioned Ardie Surveyor on the podcast as well. It's getting them repetitive moments of physicality. And I saw that at the weekend. Mate, he were backing up and it wasn't the carries which we're normally used to. It was actually the collisions in defence and in tackling. And maybe eight's his position. England are still searching for, I think, that out-and-out eight where Tom Willis, we spoke about the last couple of weeks, is probably the man in that position. But Chandler plays like that.
Yeah.
He carries the ball as we know he can.
He's a big
Mate,
unit.
he's a quality player. He's a big unit.
Yeah.
He's powerful, freak athlete. All of these things that you need to be an eight. So he was very good. I like Chandler. He's the only Quins I like. Only Quins man I like.
This feels like a massive season for Marcus Smith.
It's a massive season every year for him since he's kind of burst onto the scene. And I said it a few years ago when I'm like, just pick our best player at 10, which was Marcus Smith. He's been messed around a bit and moved around by England. He's in competition with Finn Smith, who we just spoke about, who personally I think is England's first choice 10 without a shadow of a doubt now. And Marcus is a player. It's a great sort of conundrum for Steve Borthwick to have because you back in Finn Smith, you've got Marcus Smith, who's a game changer from the bench potentially, who also is going to compete. And Marcus was really smart the way he played at the weekend and really controlled in his kicking, all the things. He still brought the goose step out and the step for his try. But he showed a more complete Marcus Smith, I think, at the weekend than perhaps some people give him credit for. And I've watched him for years and I've known that that's in him. But because he's so good at the hype stuff, the step in, the goose, the hair goes, the ball playing, that's what people know him as, right? And so some people are like, wow, he can actually manage a game. He's been able to do that for ages, but that was on a big stage. And unfortunately, he hasn't quite been given the freedom with England to run the show. And now Finn Smith has stepped up, and Finn Smith deserves to wear the jersey against Australia on the 1st of November because he was in possession last year. He had a Lions tour when he was never going to get in front of Finn Russell, but still did okay. And he's come back to Saints, and his first game, he's rocked up and, like he's never been away. And but Marcus is a great option. And then, of course, you've got George Ford and Owen Farrell in the picture as well. So 10's always the most talked about position, rightly or wrongly, because of the impact it has and because of the star quality that, England have had there previously in Johnny Wilkinson and Owen Farrell and, other players that have come through. And now, ultimately, Finn Smith's the man in possession and Marcus has got to just back that up week on week and get better week on week.
Bath breezed past Gloucester then. To be fair, the scoreline it finished up a bit closer, but yeah, Bath had it shown up early doors, didn't they?
At the Rec, Finn Russell playing, littered with talent, strength in depth. Most of the players are fit. It couldn't be better down in Bath, could it?
Yeah.
What more can you say? You look at, a lot of people in Scotland, obviously, or naturally, or I'm educating you, support Bath now. So they've got They've got a countrywide being UK following. So I keep a keen eye on Bath as well now. And they're a likeable team. I know that this has got nothing to do with the performance, but you look at the quality of player that they've got, you look at the coaching setup that they have, you look at the brand of rugby that they play, the signings that they've brought in, they're the team to follow. And yeah, I'm the same as you, Rob. The scoreline didn't really reflect what we saw. They were comfortable from start to finish. Gloucester fired a few shots. They got a decent back line. When it's in full flow, Will Joseph was standout for Gloucester.
What a try.
I thought Ben Loader played well again. Yeah, brilliant try. He was their star player, wasn't he? And that was the only positive coming out of Gloucester. Can I just make a couple of points on Gloucester and then we'll talk at Bath? They've got a load of injuries, Gloucester. They are lacking, like they always have done, leadership. I'm looking across that team. I'm right. You made Thomas Williams captain. Great choice. Okay, good choice. Great player. How much leadership credentials has he got recently? I don't really know. And then I'm looking across that Gloucester team and I'm looking for experience. I'm looking for leaders. And I ain't seeing any. You look through their team, young or new players or foreign players that have come in.
Yeah.
Especially in the pack. So the pack for me, they've got good players in there. You ain't winning the majority of games with the pack that they're putting out there, unfortunately, if you're speaking frankly. And then you go to the back line, you've got Thomas Williams, who's captain, Ross Burns new, Seb Atkinson's young, Will Joseph's new, Ben Loader's new, Ollie Thorley's on the wing, Charlie Atkinson's young at 15. And then you look at the Bath team, it's like, well, it's a foregone conclusion, unfortunately. So, and that's what it was. And Bath were good.
Load of scores in the second half, pull it back to 28-12. Bath were never under any pressure. And when you start talking about teams and unearthing players, I'm going to say it now. You could happily start Max Ajomo and Ollie Lawrence in the centres for England. Max Ajomo, at the start of this season, played 10 for the first couple of games, has now played 12. Turnovers, contact, making hits, like offloading game. He's such a slick player. I love watching him play. His relationship with Finn Russell and Ollie Lawrence was, they were just reading each other and, they know where everyone is. They're so comfy with each other. And then you add in Henry Arundel, who's obviously 3 games into his career at Bath. He's a Bath lad as well, isn't he? From where he was born and kind of bred. And his wheels were just silly. He looks strong, quick. He's got everything, the footwork. I think he's working really hard as well from what I hear on his defensive play and his reading of the game. So much so that I think he had Will Joseph covered, but Ollie Lawrence took him out, didn't he? Did you see that? Ollie Lawrence was coming across to tackle him and he's tackled his own teammate. But their backline is sparkling, led by Finn. Finn was just off the charts good, making defensive hits. And we talked him up on here, didn't we, a couple of years ago. Finn Russell, just banging boys, banging back rowers. The physicality, and then what happens with Max Ajomo getting over the ball, Ollie Lawrence creating turnovers. They're so electric from on the change from defence to attack. And one bloke that needs a shout out, and he's a young kid. You talk about athletes, Jim, and I watched you play, and I've watched many second rows play. I've never seen many second rows move like Ewan Richards, and the pick up off his toes. He scores 2 tries, but he looks like a proper athlete. Young kid, where's he come from?
Just if you listen to the coaches,
give him the jersey now.
Yeah, well, they've got good second rows. Ross Maloney, I know Quinru's injured, and Charlie Yules as well. So he gets an opportunity off the back of that. But they were talking about how tough he was when he broke his nose in the Prem Cup. I was like, what do you mean broke his nose and carried on? Fucking warrior, what's going on? I thought it's normal practice. But clearly. I mean, you look at the academy system and the players coming through. This is where everything is right about Bath. And you're right to reference him because he was very good again at the weekend. Great athlete, as all these players are. The standard of athletes coming through now is ridiculous. Yeah. Like these games at the weekend, I'm watching them and they're ridiculous. They're like the physicality, the attacking shapes, everything's at the line now. It's chaos. It's physical. It's awesome to watch. And you see a young player like this, Ewan Richards, come through in the second row where back in the day, the second row, it was hard, it was gnarly. It's different now. Yeah. You've got to be able to play in the wide channels. You've got to have good hands. You've got to be able to have footwork. You've got to be able to hand players off. Some of them even have a kicking game these days. So he's a quality player for Bath as well. not seen much of him. Seen enough of him at the weekend to know that he's good enough to be there.
Yeah, question on that. So second try, I reckon you'd have scored because it'd have been like, that's Mr. Gilmore's jacket just running through. But his first try, would you have got through and been able to pick it off your toes like he did and dive over and score?
At what part of my career?
Any part, James.
Andrew, okay, we know that we are self-deprecating on here. Okay, I don't want to reference the hat-trick against India again, but when I was in full flow as a youngster and making breaks, yeah, you're right, actually, my back was always fucked. I could never do that. But
What's going on at Bristol? So they've had red cards, yellow cards, but they still managed to win the game.
Injuries galore still.
and no player injuries. They can't even train. You listen to Pat Lamb.
Yeah.
He's like, we've had one training session. They've got 3 9s on the pitch at the weekend, and it's the proudest he's been since he was Bristol coach. He was proud when he signed his 7-year contract on ridiculous money, and he hasn't been as proud since that day, since he's watched his team go out there with no players. And you talk about chaos. That it's madness. I think they've got a 6-day turnaround now. He said that they can't even train next week. The forwards will be able to do a few line-outs and stuff. And this is where you find out how good the coaches are and how good the culture and how good the setup is. Because the fact that it was a close game against Exeter. I know Rob Baxter's not happy, but they're all over the shop here. And I don't know whether it's the way that they're training. I don't know whether it's the plastic pitches, if they're training indoors. You don't know, but you have to ask questions with the amount of injuries. I know some of them were freak injuries. But they normally have a smaller squad, Bristol, than most of the teams. But they're limping at the beginning of the season, unfortunately, which is a shame because of how they started. And you look at Harry Randall, and you look at AJ McGinty, you look at Tom Jordan coming in, who's now playing out of position. You look at Ibatoy as well on the wing, who's now injured as well. Lewis Rees-Zammit, who didn't play at the weekend. Like, these are international / world-class players that they're missing.
Yeah. And the thing for them is, we know what their DNA is, right, and how they play. And what I loved about Bristol at the weekend was Bill Matter's try early on was Bristol's DNA down to a T. Shape, offloads, ball out the tackle, everyone advancing the ball but keeping it alive and moving the point of contact. And then Bill Matter scores on the edge, doesn't he, with a 30-40 metre run in. But that was built off the back of the shape and the offloading game that they've created over the last few years. And then obviously shit hits the fan right with, the substitutions needed. Jordan gets his 20-minute red for the shot on Vincent. But then to win the game in the manner they did was so anti-Bristol and what we've come to expect. So the driving line out that they score from, Gabe O'Grey scores the driving line out, the penalties. And shout out to Worsley as well for his conversion and that last-minute penalty. But that was backs against the wall stuff. And as much as we're saying it now, how hard it's been for Bristol because of all the injuries, they've played 3-1-2 and lost 1. And yeah, they got smoked by Sarries, right? And Bristol go to Gloucester on Friday night, don't they, I think, for another derby, which is a huge game in terms of that momentum swing for both clubs. But as Pat said after the game, he was so proud of the effort and the desire and the attitude and the application against the Kosh with everything that's gone on there. They're still getting results. So it's a good sign as well. But at some point that just breaks completely because you haven't got enough numbers. And, they're going to struggle potentially with all the injuries and you expect Tom Jordan to get a ban. But ultimately they got the points. They were nuggety. And they played the Bristol way, but also found a way to win in tough circumstances.
Yeah, the way that Bristol have made up their team as well. Like, I know I went through the Gloucester team talking about inexperience, but even now, looking at the Bristol squad, they've got hardened, seasoned players. Ellis Genge, Lou said, Gabriel Ogre at hooker has been about as well. Joe Batley, Batman, Banter, Fitz Harding, Bill Matter we've mentioned, Santiago Cordona as well, who's an Argentinian international, Kieran Marmion, who's been at Connacht and been around the block as well, Tom Jordan we mentioned at 10, Bernard Yancey van Rensburg has been a brilliant signing for them since London Irish folded, and Revuvu, and you throw in the Bill Matters and the Revuvus and stuff like that. So, once they get everyone back and the way that they're playing, the physicality they're showing up front close to the line, I'm a bit gutted about Bristol with their injuries because they'll be competing, I reckon, if they can get everyone fit. But I know AJ McGinty's a long way away, and so is Harry Randall, and 9 and 10 are everything.
Can't help but feel, though, that Exeter probably should have won that game. Like, that used to be their bread and butter, didn't it? You know, like driving mauls, getting over the line. But yeah, they're just not quite there at the minute, are they?
Yeah, they haven't got the players. Like they're still in this transition period. I know, look, you talk about experienced Jack Yendall, friend of the show. He's on the wrong side of his peak now. He's he's had a testimonial, so that says it all, really. You've got guys like David Jenkins, Ethan Roots, Ross Vincent, Fisselau. So maybe you're right, actually. Like, looking at the names now, they probably do need to be better. Henry Slade at 13, Feo Boso.
Rob Baxter was disappointed, wasn't he?
Has he had Botox or not?
I can't imagine that's a
Genuine
thing.
question.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you, and I get it.
I said the same thing. I was sitting there watching. I was like, "There's no." Has he? Has he done a Petra Stupasi? Has he done a Mickey Rourke?
Yeah.
Maybe he has.
Well, let's ask.
Maybe.
Rob, if you're listening, let us know. Have you had Botox? And if so, where? Because I've got some tired lines around the eyes from Bahrain and some stuff that needs doing on the forehead as well.
So anyway, back to the rugby. Yeah, he was disappointed. There was a few driving line-out issues and tech issues between ref and TMO and touches. But I Bracey on, so I love the referees.
Yeah, Ikitau will be there soon. I think he'll probably start this week.
It'll make a big difference.
Make a mega difference. But Ben Hammersley, you see his show and go, lovely try. Might be the last time he wears the 12 jersey, not because of him, but because you've signed Ikitau. So yeah, I mean, they'll get better. But this is the thing, the Prem, apart from Newcastle, at times anyone can beat anyone, can't they? And Rob's pulling a face, mate, you took 57 points, you sacked Steve Diamond.
Have you seen our new 9, though? He's class.
Is that all you got?
We've got some players coming in at Christmas, lads. We're going to turn it round.
Yeah, well, let's hope so, because it was
hard to watch. That was.
Yeah.
It was a tough watch.
It was a tough watch, and it was like a team run, unfortunately.
There's some class young lads at Sale, though.
Yeah, I mean, we've said it before, haven't we? Roebuck scores a hat-trick. Aaron Reid as well, absolute wheels. They're going to be a team in the top 4. We said it a few weeks back, didn't we? And you look at the experienced players around them, George Ford again, just kicking goals and making everything tick. Sale at home on a Friday night, there ain't many teams going there and doing a job, especially not Newcastle, taking 57 points. But, what do you expect from this Newcastle team that have only just had the investment come in from Red Bulls? You sacked Steve Diamond, who's doing a job. I guarantee now, if Steve Diamond would have still been head coach, they wouldn't have taken 57 points. There'd have been a lot more dog in them. And yeah, it's difficult for the moment and things will get better. But it's just hard to watch when you've just sacked Steve Diamond and then you perform like that.
Yeah, everything's against you, Rob. I mean, what can you do?
I told you we're writing this season off.
Yeah, apart from blame Gregor. I feel harsh on my Gregor Townsend comments last week because I didn't have as much context as I have now.
What's the context, James? What's new?
Well, I thought he was going to be like at Newcastle, visible in and about the training week and stuff like that. I think this is a higher up role in the performance, in the business side of things, is from what I'm seeing
Don't
and reading
backtrack
in between
now,
the
James.
lines.
Who's got in your ear? Don't backtrack now.
No one's got in my ear. I promise you. I'm going based on his interview.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's defending himself, isn't he? He's getting the excuses out before. Like I got some excuses about Bahrain. I was like, it wasn't me. Same.
Yeah, but the context is everything, isn't it? Because I thought when I saw 30 days a year with Tooney, I was like, right, well, he's in there coaching, but he's actually has a point. My point is, he has a point when he talks about having the experience of being in the Red Bull family and the opportunities that will open. Because I know he's into his high performance, he's into just getting better week on week as a coach. And that opens up the opportunities. So if that is the case, then I don't retract my comments and statement, but I do see it from the other side. And would I do the same? Ask me, Andrew.
Would you do the same, James? Yes, you fucking would.
Yeah, but yes, I would. But yeah, just on to Sale. Again, Alex Sanderson, probably my favourite coach ever. The way that he makes up a team, very simple game plan, gets the right players, within the squad. There's a South African, or there definitely was a South African heartbeat, and with that comes physicality. And when you talk about physicality, you look at Ben Bamba, same height as me, local lad, played for Rugby League, Huddersfield Giants, and
unit.
How Alex Sanderson will coach him will be a dream for Alex. Because when I watched Ben Bamba last year, you could see ridiculously physical, getting fitter and fitter week on week when he was playing. He's had a big pre-season, I imagine, and probably been given a very simple directive by his coach. Go out there and fucking smash balls. Because we...
Just main people.
Do you know what I mean? And he's got good hands and stuff like that. And, you know, he's played in the back line. He can do all that. But his standout super skill is out-and-out physicality. And we know with Alex Sanderson and the South African players, the Dupree boys that left from the pack, that is what underpins the foundations of their game. And he was brilliant again at the weekend.
Yeah. And there's some unsung heroes in that team as well. Sam Dugdale as well. I really like him. He's never going to get the big headlines, but you watch him play, quality operator. And then, you know, for me, an amazing signer. I went to watch them train in Portugal, and I was like, who the hell is that lad? He was just maiming boys and running over people. And it was Nathan Jabulu, the hooker, who came off the bench at the weekend.
Quins let him go.
Yeah, ridiculous decision. They refused to play him as well last year after he'd signed for Sale. But Sale have signed an absolute gem in him. And obviously Luke Cowan-Dickie is your first choice hooker, but Jabulu will be, you know, I think he'll be knocking on the England door pre-World Cup. But also, you know, that sort of transition from Luke Cowan-Dickie when or if he's away with England or if he ends up retiring over the next couple of years. Alex Sanderson has signed an absolute gem in Nathan Jabulu. Absolute monster, ball carrying. And again, like you talk about coachability, Dorian West is up there coaching, and Jabulu needs to sort his darts out, so he's going to work tirelessly on throwing in because he's got every other aspect of being an unbelievable hooker. But as we know, the top tier, you get judged on throwing in. So that's his work on, but he's going to be a hell of a player for him.
Look at us, just all-out ruggers this week, eh? It's one of those weeks. It's just a rugby hygiene week. Hygiene being the word, Andrew. Hygiene.
Detox is what I need. Detox.
Well, on detox, Andrew, I'm on my sofa, hanging, just from travel. Just travel alone takes it out of me. And I am watching my partner in crime go to work again, baby. You are doing Ulster versus the Bulls on Saturday. Neat. Double bubble for you.
Yeah. I flew home. I went home. I took the girls to gymnastics, to children's gymnastics, James, not different gymnastics. Told them I loved them, gave them a kiss. I said, sorry, I've got to go again. And I might have said sorry.
Why? Sorry for what?
I don't
sorry
know.
For what,
Just
Andrew?
being away, James. Just being away.
Okay.
And then flew over to Belfast and went straight to the stadium and just did my work, James. But it was, tell you what, I was quite excited about it once you start reading. Once I got over Bahrain and you start doing your prep and research and you're reading what Richie Murphy's saying pre-match around, this is probably the best team I've been able to pick since I've been in the job. Because all of a sudden the stars...
And it's a great stadium.
Yeah. The Affordea Stadium now. Affordea, it's not called...
Hang on, what's it called?
The Affordea Stadium. New sponsor.
What happened to Kingspan?
They've gone, mate. They wanted out. But it's a great stadium there. I know it's the 4G pitch now. But the Ulster fans, 10,000 of them rocked up, over 10,000 came to the game. And they've been through some dark times, haven't they, Ulster fans, over the last however many years. And it's been...
they're miserable.
Yeah, well, it's been underwhelming, but their stand up for the Ulstermen was being belted out. You know, they were under the pump in the first half, and the Bulls were kind of underwhelming. Like Andre Pollard, not great on his debut back at his old club. Kane and Moody just looked like he didn't want to be there. No doubt he's just come off the Rugby Championship and you're like, lads, off you go, Ulster away. All the best. But yeah, I mean, credit to the Ulster fans and the players and Richie Murphy. His lad as well at fly half was outstanding. McCluskey breaks his nose. He's got it spread across his face and he just carries on trucking and carrying, scores a try. James Hume in the centres, who you know I'm a big fanboy of, he came and did an interview with us afterwards and I was like, hi, how are you doing? I said to him, we're going for a beer. And he's like, no, I'm teetotal now. I was like, okay, not you. Who's keen for a beer? No one. But it was good, mate. And Ulster did exceptionally well. Some of the attacking rugby in the second half took it to the Bulls. Doak at scrum half played really well. And it was a great win. It really was a great win for Ulster. Bulls underwhelming, but they can do that because they're that good. But it was a mega day for Ulster and all their fans.
With Ulster, so they've made 2 mega signings this year.
Yeah.
Angus Bell, when's he turning up?
I think he's coming after the Autumn Nations. Who's the other one, Jim? I know you're going to say. Your South African friends.
Juano Augustus.
Yeah, Juano Augustus.
Wicked signing.
Yeah. Well, we saw
Juano.
We saw at Saints, didn't we? How good his ball carrying is, and how hard he works. He'd been at Saints for 5 or 6 years probably, and they were disappointed to lose him, but they've got a great side in. And what a start! Your first game, you're playing against your fellow South Africans, so you just go around smashing boys and carrying big.
Well, he was the best South African on the pitch.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt.
That's why I heard he went to Ulster, was because he wants to get properly into that South African mix by playing against them regularly. Yeah. That was what I heard.
Yeah, and they've got good...
Makes sense, right?
Yeah, it does. It does. And Ulster have got great pedigree with South Africans, haven't they, previously? Kutsia was there, Ruan Pinar, loads of others that you can talk of. Stephen Get Your Kits Off was there for a bit.
Stephen Get Your Kits Off, yeah.
So it is a great signing. But there is a shout out to one Bulls player, and the battle at 8 was pretty cool because Rudolph at number 8, I'm looking in the warm-up, I'm like, he must be in the management. He looks that old. He must be a coach. He must be part of like the CEO group or whatever. Oh no, he's rocking up with a number 8 jersey on. He looks about 70 years of age, but my God, he trucked it up well and was going around trying to smash boys. So a great performance from Ulster. Great to see the atmosphere as it was at the Afadea Stadium. And hopefully they can go over to South Africa now and pick up some more wins and keep the momentum going. But talking about South Africans rocking up and going well, the Stormers, John Dobson, friend of the show, what an absolute legend. And they've gone down to the Scarlets. I know it's only the Scarlets, but they've nilled them 34-0. And you talk about big-time players, Sasha Feinberg, Omga Mazulu at 10. He was outstanding. You got Damien Willemser at fullback as well. He was on fire. And they nilled the Scarlets and the forward power. Evan Roos at number 8. I think he got man of the match, actually. Yeah. Proper angry South African. Loves a bit of niggle as well, doesn't he?
That's the position that's up for debate now with South Africa. If you've got Augustus, like we've just mentioned for Ulster, Roos has been there or thereabouts. Jasper Wiese, wicked player. Yeah, with the injury to Dion Fourie, I know that he is at the back end of his career, but does that open up a slot in the squad for one of the other big balls at 8? Yeah. But Evan Roos for me has always been a wicked player. Just, I don't know, there was rumours of something going on with him and Rassie, or I don't know. I hope that doesn't get in the way because I'm a big fan of him. Wicked athlete, great carrier. You mentioned man of the match at the weekend, gets through a power of work. He is a Springbok 8. Yeah. He is, mate.
Yeah, scored a load of tries as well at the start of the season, 4 or 5 tries already, I think. Yeah, mate, they were good, very good. And John Dobson and his Stormers boys are sitting pretty at the top of the URC. Talking about other South African teams though, Jim, and you did reference it earlier, our Sharks, because we both played at the Sharks, how bad. They just didn't look up for it. I know.
Well, they ain't won.
I know. Well,
mate, they don't won a game.
Yeah, well, they drew the dregs. They drew the dregs last week in round 2. But I know you go into Leinster, it's at the Aviva, and Leinster have got some of their lines back. Jamie Osborne played exceptionally well, but the Sharks offering very little. Very little. Ethan Hooker was decent, but apart from that, it was all Leinster really. And interestingly, Prendergast gets rested. Harry Byrne has come back from Bristol, gets the 10 jersey, and plays very well. He did chuck a bit of a dodgy intercept, but apart from that, managed the game well, attacked really well, stayed square, chose good options, kicked both attacking kicks and out of hand for territory really well, I thought. But next week, Leinster play Munster, and everyone wants to see who's going to be the Ireland 10. Prendergast might not even get in the Leinster team because Harry Byrne might get picked ahead of him. And there's Jack Crowley, hopefully coming with Munster to have a go as well. So it'll be an interesting selection week for Leo Cullen because Harry Byrne was, I thought, brilliant, outstanding. Josh van der Fleer back as well, skipper. And it just looked like the Leinster of old, really. Just like well-oiled, good shape in attack. James Lowe was doing bits. Jamie Osborne, the big talk around him, is he going to be Ireland's fullback in the Autumn Nation series because Hugo Keenan's out injured? So, yeah, he performed really well. I say it every time I see him. The lad needs a sunbed. He needs a holiday. He needs to get to Bahrain, get in the sun, because he is probably the pastiest, whitest skinned Irishman I've ever seen. But he played exceptionally well at fullback.
Mate, he looks like a younger version of Bernard Jackman when it comes to skin tone.
Yeah.
Only the skin tone.
Yeah. He's basically like a milk bottle.
Another Irish win, Munster. They beat your Edinburgh as well, didn't they, Jim?
Yeah, but Edinburgh looked comfortable at the start and just, do I say a soft underbelly?
James.
I don't know how to put it politely.
Well, I don't know about a soft underbelly. I think you must have been in camp at Edinburgh because they had 4 yellow cards.
Discipline is not great.
Yeah. I mean, they had 4 yellows, so you're playing half the game with 14 players, effectively. And, to lose it by a point in the manner they did, actually, watching the game, Edinburgh played some really good stuff. They're in a bit of a lead. Darcy Graham makes a bit of a cock-up at the start, but then makes up for it with an unbelievable finish from a crossfield kick. And they had every chance of winning it. And it's quite interesting. You look at this Munster team who have played 3-1-3, but actually you look at the manner of the victories, scraping. The first game against Scarlets was comfy, but then Cardiff, they could have lost that. They could have lost again to Edinburgh at the weekend. So Macmillan, who's come in as head coach, has obviously instilled a bit of belief and gnarl into them. And it's good to see from an Irish rugby perspective because all the noise is mainly about Leinster most of the time. And I've read stuff in the press today about the Ireland squad's going to be picked on Wednesday and it's going to be the bluest Ireland squad ever from Leinster and all that stuff. But Munster, you can only go out there, perform and win the games in front of you. And they made hard work of it down in Cork for themselves. With a few errors, but credit to Edinburgh. Apart from their discipline, they were pretty decent, and Munster get the win. Well, if you didn't watch the URC or the top 14 this weekend on Premier Sports, what were you doing? It's free for all Rugby Pod listeners for your first month. You can watch Jack Willis tearing it up in France, every URC game this season, every Investec Champions Cup game, top 14 games, La Liga, Scottish football, you get the lot. Just use the code RugbyPod when signing up and you get your first month free. And the offer ends on the 31st of October, so you haven't got long. Get downloading, get subscribing, and we'll see you on Premier Sports.
Some more positivity coming out of Wales. Not talking about the Dragons, but Cardiff. Their young winger on fire again.
Tom Bowen's on fire. Oh, the defence is petrified. Tom Bowen's on fire. Yeah, do you know what? There's a little bit of the Shane Williams about him. He's about 4 foot tall and he finished his try, sniffs them out. He got a couple at the weekend, didn't he? Callum Sheedy again, turning provider. But Cardiff have gone well. They lose Matt Sherratt just before the season starts. But to get a win against Connacht at home, 14-8 wasn't a great game. But to be fair to Tom Bowen, joint top try scorer in the URC, so there are some positive green shoots of rugby union coming out of Wales, and it's mainly Cardiff, because it ain't the Scarlets and it ain't the Drags.
Well, let's wrap it up, Andrew. Talking of top try scorers, Lewis Liner, top try scorer, joint with 5 this season. Benetton smoked the Lions 41-15.
It did.
And a nod to the Dregs as well.
They went out. Mate, they went out. They kept it.
They went out.
They kept it under
50.
Yeah.
They kept it under 50. They did. They kept it under 50. It was 49-0 loss against Glasgow, which was a team run as well.
And Ospreys recorded a 24-0 victory over Zebra. Zebra going back to their old ways, getting nilled, although they have had a good start to the season. So good win for Ospreys. Basically, Ospreys and Cardiff are the 2 teams that are going to stay afloat. Scarlets and the Dregs probably not now.
Game of the weekend coming up. Croke Park showdown between Leinster and Munster, though, isn't it?
Oh, belter.
Yeah, amazing. One of the fiercest rivalries in rugby. The blue, the red, the rich, the poor. I don't know who's rich and who's poor. Just my views of the working class man
From Munster.
and woman are from Munster and the posh boys from Leinster. It doesn't marry up like that. I completely get it, but it has that feeling. It always has had that feeling. The farmers of Munster, the corporates of Leinster, the city versus the city.
The countryside.
But it feels like a town.
Yeah, the countryside.
The countryside.
Yeah.
You know where I'm going with it.
Yeah.
So it's always cool. And you know what? Derbies for me, and I've played in a few, Leicester, Northampton, Sarries, Quins, or Sarries, Northampton, Edinburgh, Glasgow. They're great, right? But you know, when you watch like the New Zealand teams go at it as well, and then they go off and they play international rugby, there's always a niggle, right? It's like playing against your brother and your cousins and your family or whatever. But these games, Leinster, Munster, there's always something in there. There's an undercurrent of hate, jealousy. Maybe it's the high performance environment they're in. I don't know. But these games never disappoint. Leinster, Munster is always a quality game.
And there was 80,000 there last year, I think, at Croke Park to watch it. So they're hoping for a mega crowd again, which I'm sure they'll get. And obviously, there's going to be a bit of niggle. I just wish Andy Farrell was announcing his squad after that game. He's announcing it this Wednesday, so it's before. But
No. I think before.
really,
Well, yeah, if there's players like, I don't know, Gavin Coombs, for example, who isn't in, and he's up against, well, I know Caelan Doris is injured, so we're not going to see that matchup.
I think
But, you know,
I think Caelan's not far off coming back, you know, from what I've heard.
which is cool.
Yeah, because there's chat of him hopefully being fit for the Autumn Nation Series, which ain't that far away, Jim. We are in New York and Chicago pretty soon. Just get your sleep in before we go. But yeah, you look at some of the matchups, you know, the Prendergast or Byrne. I'm sure it'll be Prendergast coming up against...
It has to be Prendergast.
coming up against Jack Crowley. Now, Jack Crowley has started the season very well, hasn't he? And ironically, this is the funny thing, because they talk about minutes and how much you're allowed to play with the RFU who look after their players. It was interesting that both Prendergast and Crowley were rested this weekend. Rested from their starting teams, because I think it's going to be a mega head-to-head, and they're going to both start and that's going to be the narrative this week. You've got Craig Casey hopefully coming up against Jameson Gibson Park. Craig Casey's on some great form. He was rested again this weekend against Edinburgh. So hopefully the narratives build throughout the week and it will be an unbelievable game. 150-year rivalry, James. That is mega, isn't it? And you built it up perfectly. You built it up perfectly, my friend.
And you can watch it all on Premier Sports.
Yes, Rob, thank you. You can.
We haven't done this for a couple of weeks, lads, but we've got some other news.
In other news!
What we got, Jim?
I'm going first. I'm going straight in positive.
Yes.
Lee Radford, friend of the show,
Yeah.
loose as a goose, announced as Scotland defensive coach. That is great news.
Yeah.
Brilliant news. Didn't see it coming. As we know, Steve Tandy has gone and taken the impossible task of the Welsh job, the head job, and that left a void in the defence, which Steve Tandy did a great job at. And if you could say, who would you want? Who could you pick? I would say for me personally, but I mean, clearly for Scotland, you'd go all in on Lee Radford. Brilliant man, salt of the earth, very direct in his approach, hard man, done his apprenticeships, done a great job at Northampton. You look at the improvements that they have had under him and did not see that coming. But from a Scotland perspective, very, very happy.
That is a wicked signing. Like, you saw the impact he had at Saints, and a tough Northerner. They just make a difference indeed, don't they? Even if you don't want to tackle and he says tackle, you'll get up and tackle. So Scotland's defence is going to improve.
Which is just a clear directive, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just they're so suited to them roles, right? And I'm not saying at all that they can't do anything else, from being a director of rugby or administration and all of these shit bits of coaching, right? But they'll tell you, right, there's a lot of organising. To be a defence coach, there's no better people than these northern men who are hard. Okay?
Fucking smash 'em!
There you go. You said it. That's it. Hey, it's just one line. What are you going to go out there and do? You're going to go out there and smash him.
Yeah, 100%. Other news, Jack Willis was named top 14 player of the season on Monday after we did last week's podcast. He dethroned Anton Dupont, who was injured, obviously, for a fair bit of last season.
Why have they named it now?
It's for last season. So it's...
Yeah, I know, but
it's French.
We'll just name it at the end of the season. It's a new
Mate,
season. It's a new dawn. It's a new day.
Exactly.
It's a new life.
But he, it's so French just doing it way after the season finishes. But congrats to Jack Willis. He becomes the second Englishman to win it after Zach Mercer did in 2022. So, interestingly, does that put a bit more pressure on the RFU to say select from the outside? No, it doesn't. They won't change. They won't change.
No. We look at Zach Mercer when he was carving up, he was nowhere near it.
Some news on his brother as well, James. Tom Willis. And interestingly, Mark McCall made a statement that the club have offered Tom Willis a contract. They're just waiting for him to sign it, which is basically saying, that's our last offer. You ain't getting any more, Shag. So, and there's news of Bordeaux or Toulon or a few other clubs, Montpellier.
Sale.
Getting in, taking Tom to France, or you're right, Newcastle, Red Bulls, Sale. Interesting. I mean, Tom Willis is a proper baller of a number 8. Like, he's built for the winter months, isn't he?
And he's built for French rugby.
Yeah.
And he made a big dent in and a difference in Bordeaux when he signed for there when Wasp went under.
Yeah. And interestingly, he's got I believe he's got an EPS contract for this year. But you go to France, you lose that, you miss out on playing for England, whatever. But ultimately, it's a big decision for him, right? Because as you know, you can get one injury and that contract, disappears. The big opportunity in a couple of years' time disappears. So, what are his drivers? How long's the contract for? How long's he signed the EPS contract for? Because some of them are 1-year deals, some are 2, some are 3. That all goes into the melting pot. And I basically hope he stays at Sarries because he's done well there, and hopefully he's going to be England's number 8.
And the last bit of other news, 8 major rugby unions have kaiboshed the old R360 stuff. What do we make of this, lads?
Yeah, and the NRL are apparently expected to follow suit. As we know, a lot of the NRL players have agreed to sign up. They've been quite noisy about it. There's been a lot of talk in Australia. I know that mine and Andrew's views are split somewhat on this. And when I made comments when it initially came out, the fans weren't happy, who are important in this, right? The fans are important in sport. I've said it a million times.
What did you say, James?
Okay?
The fans will drive the direction of the game.
Of the sport. Of course they will. You bring the fans, there's a business. Fans business, and the players and the athletes will get paid accordingly. But where this has got real interest, the R360, is from the players, right? So a lot of the players, like Finn Smith, was interested until last week.
But why did his interest go?
I won't name the other players.
Why did his interest go?
Well, the interest has gone because I imagine they've been scared by things, one, maybe not being in place when they want it, but also the fact that now, for the first time ever, right, there's a true collaboration between unions and leagues and stakeholders.
No, Wales didn't say anything. Mate, come on, mate. Wales didn't say anything because Wales are like that.
Mate, they have not got a stake. They have not got a stake to put in the ground at the minute. Okay, and if it is, it's plastic. All right, the poor people involved there. My view on this, right, so just hear me out, is why would you not look at it? Why would you, if you are the unions, okay, take the clubs out of it for now, why would you not have a look at it and see if there was a way in which you could collaboratively work, okay? Like there's clearly money, or he says there's clearly money, but there's investment that's circulating in the game. Why would you not take these conversations deeper? Instead of going straight away, nah, we're not doing it, it's not happening. You know, I saw Len Ikitau's comments. He's mad keen for it to happen. He's just one player who's put his head above the parapet. So, Andrew, I can see you trying to cut me off here because I know that you're passionate about it, okay? And you are a traditionalist, which I agree with. But as we were speaking about in Bahrain, when we got asked the question there, we have to be open to change. We have to be, because every other sport is receptive and has had change and has had iteration and has had things that have happened in their histories that has been an inception point for the better. We've not yet had that in rugby.
Okay, I'm happy to debate that. What sports have innovated, like the big sports have innovated apart from cricket? NFL's the same, NBA's the same, football is the same.
Okay, so we need to innovate, right? Because what we are doing compared to these other sports that you've just mentioned is financially not working.
Yeah, well, the international game is. I understand your point on that, but my issue with it is there's a clear reason why Finn Smith didn't sign it. And I want the players to earn as much as possible. Don't get me wrong. And I say this, had the opportunity come when I was playing, I'd have been one of the first ones to find out what's going on. Can you sign a contract for way more money? Of course.
Well, you did say to me when you had a cigarette in your mouth that you
it was a vape.
The three teams that you,
it was a vape.
That the three teams that you signed for all got relegated. That's what you lying back.
They went bust.
You were smoking the vape, and you said you do realise the three teams I signed for went bust. I was like, you are right. So you're part of the problem here.
Yeah, but what I mean is, so I've heard allegedly that the funds weren't there, and I think the unions have taken this stance because there's been no detail come out of the R360 lot in terms of player welfare, in terms of there's been different iterations, I think, of how the competition will work. It just sounds from the outside, they haven't come out and said, here's our plan, these are the clear reasons why we should be doing it, here's the funding, here's how it's going to be funded, here's how we're going to put the money back into the game, or we're not. There's no detail, so they've just gone, well, you're giving us nothing, so, and you've got allegedly no funding, so absolutely see you later, lads. And that's the reason for it.
My point is, we have to be open to change that or something new or innovation. I'm not saying specifically that this is it, okay? But instead of everyone putting their guards up, instead of everyone like literally flat batting it and saying, no, the fans don't want this, they don't want that. Okay, I understand what you're saying. I get it. Like I do. I'm a traditionalist at heart. I played for 3 traditional clubs, you know? Leicester and Gloucester being the most traditional on that roster there. And I love that part of it. But we have to be open to innovation or we will die. It's as simple as that because, again, I sound like a broken record. At the minute, it isn't sustainable. Like it is not. Like if we carry on going in the direction that we go in, it's not sustainable. And you talk about Tom Willis, for example. Tom Willis is going to go to the highest bidder. You cannot play rugby the way that he plays, okay, and be like, oh, you know what, actually, I really like it here now because there's no loyalty in sport now. And some of the contracts they've been offered are mega. Yeah, but, okay, whether the money's there or not, I understand, I know.
Yeah, the contracts aren't worth the paper they're written. Mate, someone offered me £2 million quid, but it ain't worth nothing if there's no funding there, is there?
Who offered you that? Who would offer you that?
I'm saying,
probably would, actually.
No, but I'm saying, that's what I mean. Like, you dangle £1 million quid or whatever it is, the numbers in front of players, of course they're going to pique interest. And I'll be the first one to say I want the players to earn as much as possible. But from what I've heard, when it's a pipe dream like the R360 lot, and I've said it, some of them are cowboys, some of the wrong people are involved in that to make it viable. And ultimately, you know, the unions have clubbed together, as you said, Jim, collaboratively for the first time ever and said, nah, because, and it goes both ways, not enough detail from the R360 boys, not enough sharing, not enough understanding of how the competition's going to look. And in reality, to fix stuff or to make changes in rugby, we still need to look at a global season, which, you know, we banged on probably in season 3 of this podcast, didn't we?
Yeah, you know what's the uncomfortable thing next coming round the corner is that World Rugby now is looking at player welfare and actually considering the amount of games that players play. I don't know whether this is out there already. Producer Rob can check. That the maximum games they can play is 30. And what's happening now, because where the money is in the game, in the men's game, in the game, is internationally.
Yeah.
So what are they doing?
More internationals.
More international games. So what does that mean? Less club games. So a team like, okay, let's go Sharks, for example, right? Or the URC team specifically. The Sharks ain't got Ebenezer, they've not got Sia Khaleesi, they're 2-star players. If they're adding in more games, they're going to play less games for them. So what are you going to do as clubs? You'll be like, well, we don't want you. We can't because you're not playing. You know, we don't have that luxury unless it's France, where an Anton Dupont, for example, if France had 5 more games into the calendar, Toulouse could say, well, look, Anton, you don't play 5 games at the beginning of the season. We know we're going to get to the playoffs. We just want you for them big games. Yeah. So that's problematic in itself, which I agree with, right? I actually think the number of games should be 25, the max games. But now this is coming around the corner. This is going to cause another layer of problems because the teams aren't going to get their players because they can't play in the games.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, international rugby, you're probably playing anywhere from max 15 games a year, aren't you? So if you think you've got the 4 Autumn Nations games, if you're a UK-based player or European-based player, 4 games in the autumn, you've got 5 Six Nations games, that's 9. You've then got 2 or 3 on tour in the summer, that's 12 games internationally. You still got...
And then a World Cup year.
Yeah, I mean, World Cup years are obviously different, but you've still got 18 games to get to that 30-game limit as well, haven't you? So 18 games in a season is, for a club team, that's what they're getting anyway half the time, and that's top end. So yeah, loads to discuss, loads to debate, but R360, nah, ain't happening.
Right then, lads, should we finish things off with the good, the bad, and the ugly?
Yes, let's do that. Sponsored by Maul and...
No, it's Maul and Goode. It's still there. It's still teetering about. We've got about 500 boxes, but we're in the process of moving house now.
Have you sent Rob Baxter moisturiser? Because, as you said, it's either that or he's had Botox.
Maybe it is. Maybe that is the Maul and Goode that he got gifted by Father Christmas in the stocking that got dumped under his tree. Yeah. But I tell you what, the dogs are in incredible shape. They're smelling amazing at the minute.
All right, let's start off in the URC. The Stormers and Munster get a shout in the Goode this week. Played 3-1-3, both of them. Bath looked absolutely ridiculous at times against Gloucester. Played 3-1-3, all with bonus points. So they are on fire, as Jim Hamilton would say. Tom Roebuck gets a shout out for his hat-trick against Sale. Everyone starts talking about wingers and international. Faye Waboso back. Tom Roebuck needs to be starting for England in the Autumn Nations series. And the Goode this week, just because I was there, just because there was a great atmosphere, just because they beat a South African team, and just because Richie Murphy is a great bloke who managed to pick his strongest team ever. There's some feel-good factor in Ulster. Their second half performance was outstanding. So Ulster, with their bonus point win over the Bulls, 10,000 people plus in the Affadea Stadium. They are going to get the Goode this week.
Yeah, rare.
The bad, few bits of bad. Where do we start? Scarlets getting nilled at home against the Stormers, 34-0. They are bottom of the log in the URC. Guess who's back in the bad, boys?
Oh, okay. Then we've got to go there, unfortunately. The Drags.
Yeah, the Drags, they are in the bad again. Conceded 49 up in Glasgow. At least they went out, though. Yeah, they're back in the bad. The Lions, they're shocking. Played 3, lost 3. Lost to Benetton 41-15, as we spoke about. Rob, you're not going to be happy about this, but the Newcastle Red Bulls, you're back in the bad. Not only did you sack Steve Diamond, you also took 57 points, and it was a fairly heartless display up in Sale. So you get a mention of the bad. But the bad this week, it's bad news, really. 1, Seb Atkinson and his knee injury is pretty bad news because he was going really well. But 2, from a Gloucester perspective, it's not really bad, but it's a shout out and a sad news, really, for Jack Singleton. And our thoughts are with him because he had a cardiac incident and a bit of a heart issue and got taken into hospital for some surgery and everything that goes with it. So we wish him the best. It's bad news for Gloucester. It's bad news for him. But knowing the sort of bloke that Jack Singleton is, hopefully he can bounce back and come back with a strong heart and be fit and raring to go pretty soon. So thoughts with Jack, and that's why that's the bad this week.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the ugly, 2 bits of ugly. They both came out the top 14. Firstly, Bayonn's Vincent Gudicelli. He got a shoulder to the head in his game. But Montpellier, Jim, you'd have hated this one. Over in Paris, so Racing 92, a player Montpellier, Florent Verhaeg, did a croc roll and then landed and twisted on Nathan Hughes' knee, which we saw got bent back out of shape. So the croc rolls, get them out of the game, lads. There was a couple this weekend. You landed on legs, you're doing it deliberately, and you get red cards, and rightfully so. So Florent Verhaeg, or Verhaeg, however you say it, you get the ugly this week.
Couple of shout outs to finish, boys.
Yeah, we've got a few. Thank you as always. First shout out goes to Grimsby.
Up in your neck of the woods, Rob.
Is that up north? Is it up the north?
It's that way. Grimsby's up there. Grimsby Fisheries. Do you remember Grimsby Fisheries in Leicester, Jim? Unbelievable fish and chip shop, but we're not talking about the fisheries.
I don't.
We're not talking about the fisheries.
No, how weird is it having a fish and chip shop so far away from the ocean? Imagine the fish. Yeah, not the best anyway. But Grimsby Rugby Club needs a massive shout out. They're celebrating their 140th year anniversary.
There we go. Another big anniversary, just atop Grimsby, is Ravens RFC 1875, who are also celebrating an anniversary. It's not 140 though, Jim, like Grimsby. It's 150. So a big shout out to Tag and the lads from the Ravens RFC 1875.
Well, this is a clear and simple one-liner. Jim Breary on his tractor in Cumbria. Big shout out to you.
There you go, Jim. There you go. Big shout out on your tractor. And finally, unfortunately, this is a sad one to finish. We're sending all our condolences to all the friends and family of Warren Abrahams, who sadly passed away while coaching Belgium's women's sevens team in Kenya. A brilliant coach and an even better bloke, loved by everyone he met. Thoughts are with his wife Hannah and kids Georgia and Sebastian. There's a GoFundMe page titled For Warren if you'd like to show your support. So get behind that, please. He was a cracking bloke.
Yeah, I did see that news. Incredibly sad. But thanks to everyone who sent the shout-outs in. Thanks to everyone for listening. As always, Andrew, we appreciate it. Wherever we go, worldwide, it's really cool to speak to people and see the effect the pod has on everyone. So, yeah, blown away by last weekend and all the shout-outs that we get in, Roberto.
Yeah, it's been good.
How do you cipher through them?
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
There we go. Big week last week in Bahrain. And we get some sleep, Jim, and then a couple of weeks' time, we're off again to New York and Chicago.
We go again.
We'll be in the doghouse again, my friend.
Yeah, you will be, not me, mate. You're in the kennel. Right, thank you, everyone. Rugby Spod.
Spotted pod.